Welcome to MACC Talk, a Middle Tennessee podcast from Mont Haven Arts and Cultural Center in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I'm your announcer, Kennedy Galpin. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at the Park West Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to making the arts available to everyone.
Thank you, Kennedy, and welcome everyone to MACC Talk. I'm your host, John Pitcher. We like to think of the MACC as a cultural town square where we encourage everyone to be their creative best. Our guest today is one of the most creative people I've ever met. He's the famed Disney animator, James Coleman. Before we dig into that interview, Kennedy, let me ask you, what are some of your favorite animated films?
Yeah, so I have a few favorites, I'd say. On the Disney spectrum of things, some of my favorites include Sleeping Beauty, featuring the work of Ivan Earle, a fantastic background artist. And then Cinderella, just because it's stunning in general. And then on the Studio Ghibli side of things, I like Kiki's Delivery Service and then Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've seen the latter.
Oh, it's fantastic. And then just in more recent films, I'd say the Into the Spider-Verse is really good. Just the Spider-Verse films in general, because there's a really good mix of like 2D and 3D animation that blend together just beautifully. I mean, it helps too that Spider-Man's a part of it. Mm-hmm. Makes it more fun.
It does.
It feels very comic booky in like the best way possible. It's very much an homage to comic books of really any era of comics.
Right. Well, as far as the Studio Ghibli productions are concerned, I love Spirited Away, which is just very, very fantastical. I also love just some of the great classics from Disney. I love Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which my mom took me to when I was a little kid in the movie theaters.
I used to be terrified of that movie.
Well, that's the great thing about Disney. Disney really doesn't shy away from its villains. And then we have Beauty and the Beast, which, of course, has the wonderful horrifying enchantress who turns this arrogant prince into a beast, and we have that whole great story set to motion. Speaking of Beauty and the Beast, let's go ahead and introduce today's guest. James Coleman is one of the world's foremost artists and animators. During a storied career with the Walt Disney Company, James worked on more than 30 animated shorts, along with a dozen feature-length films, including The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. He segued out of Disney after 22 years to become a fine artist, and his impressionistic paintings can now be found in collections around the world. His exhibit, Bringing Disney to Life, is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. We're excited he's here. James Coleman, welcome to MACC Talk.
Wow, thank you. So good to be here.
Wonderful.
Very exciting.
Well, I've been admiring all the works downstairs. You have an amazing exhibit, and I was just wondering, most great artists I know began pretty young. When did you first pick up a paintbrush?
I first picked up a paintbrush probably when I was 10, 12. And, you know, like most kids at school, you fooled around with it, but it became a hobby then when I was in junior high and high school.
Okay.
But I really didn't take any art classes because my father said, well, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or you can't make a living.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
I know. And so...
Did you think that? Did you have a sense that you were going to be an artist? Despite what mom or dad would say.
I had this dream that I was going to be Vincent van Gogh, and I had read his story, and I was thinking, I'm going to suffer my life away, cut my ear off, take all kinds of crazy drugs, and
go to the
but
islands.
It didn't go that way.
Okay, no. That probably worked out for the best.
I think it worked out the best that way.
Well, despite what your father might have thought, my dad thought I might be a Latin scholar. Boy, was he off the mark.
Oh, boy.
By about a light year. But how did you break into Disney? Because this is probably just about so many artists' dream. How did you do that?
Well, it just so happens my mother had started in Hyperion days with the Disney Company, and she was Walt's secretary on and off, and I had gone away for military service. It was right in the middle of the Vietnam War, the late 60s, and so I was either going to be drafted or go into one of the reserves. I ended up in the Air National Guard, and I did my active duty. And when I came home, I didn't have a job. And my mom says, well, why don't you just come in and work in the mailroom, because you could maybe be a cameraman, who knows what you would be. And so I said, sure, I'll try it out. And I went to work there, but I still always had this hobby of just painting paintings, but never thinking it was going to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And then they started having this show where anybody could put a painting in the Disney studio, whether you're a secretary or you're the a mail boy, and I was a mail boy. Mm-hmm. So I did a painting and I brought it in, and I walked down the hallway of the animation building where this was taking place in their library there, and I saw Roy O. Disney, Walt's brother, walking in front of me, and the little voice inside my head said, go ask Roy to look at your painting and tell you what he thinks. And I just said no to that at first, and then the voice came by again saying, go ask Roy to look at your painting. And so I stopped the mail cart and I got over with Roy and said, Roy, would you mind looking at my painting? I have a new painting in this show, and I would love to see what you think of it. Mm-hmm. And so then it was just like, yeah.
That took a lot of courage.
It did, especially since I had never shown anybody a painting before,
And he's an old guy. He's an old guy, and you're a kid.
Yeah, he's my age. And anyway, I told him that, and he said, well, sure, I'll take a look. And later on that day, I'm walking by that library again, and the gals came running out of there. They said, you won't even believe what happened. And I said, what's that? And I said, well, come with me. And I went in, and there was this sold sticker on my painting, and signed on next to the painting was Roy O. Disney, $30. He had bought this painting for $30. So that's where my art started.
That's your first sale?
That was the
and
first sale.
And that was $30 back then.
$30, that
was like $300 now, right?
And this was the thing, was that I had to cash that check. You would that check would be worth more than $30.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But I was a mail boy, so I just went to see him in his office, and he just said, you need to come work for us in the art department. And
wow. That's incredible.
Well, I know. That's what I said.
What an incredible story.
I said, so you really think that I could do that? And he said, well, go talk to the artist. You see him every day. You deliver the brushes and so forth. So I did. So I was talking to the artists, and here these artists are the best artists in the world.
Oh, yeah.
And they're telling me, you have something special that is really unique.
And what's really amazing is that you're self-taught, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just sheer talent here.
Right. Exactly. So it was just like I went, well, I would love to figure out something that I could use this for, whether it was to become an animator or a background painter. And they said, well, we think you'd be best as a background painter. And so come Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, the first film that I worked on.
And that's 1974, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they made me an assistant background painter on that, and it was a really new experience for me, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. We're speaking with famed artist and animator James Coleman, whose exhibit Bringing Disney to Life is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. We'll be back after this important message.
The Park West Foundation is a strong supporter of arts education. The arts foster creativity, critical thinking, and emotional expression. They also enhance communication skills and cultural awareness while boosting confidence and collaboration. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by the Park West Foundation, a champion of arts awareness and education since 2006. For more information, visit their website at parkwestfoundation.org.
We're back with artist and animator James Coleman, whose exhibit Bringing Disney to Life is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. Let me just ask you, when I think of Walt Disney and Roy Disney, I'm thinking of these guys as like the Wright brothers of animation. I mean, these guys came up with something that really changed the world.
They were.
And tell me, I don't know if you met Walt, but what was Roy like?
Yes.
What were those guys like?
Roy was a very nice man, but yes, Walt I knew because as I was growing up, my mom would bring me into the studio and find Walt, and it was just a coincidence, but I just can always remember him having a red cardigan sweater and being just the nicest, and he called me Little Jimmy, and I was like one of the family, and so he was already gone when this art show had happened.
Yeah, he passed away in 1966.
Yes, right. And so so Roy was left, and I'm just glad that he bought that painting, and also that he encouraged me.
Right.
And so from that, I also started to just paint in the evenings when I was at home, and I, after the kids are in bed and the family's fed, I would get out my oil paints and sit by the fireplace in the living room and start painting away.
So you're painting your own stuff now. You're on fine art.
Right.
Well, I know you've been asked this before, but now I'm curious. Do you think that Disney had a bigger influence on your style, or did you have the bigger influence on Disney? Because because you were really instrumental in what I think people today consider to be the second golden age of Disney animation.
Yes.
And, I think the visuals are just so spectacular. And tell me, where's the big influence, do you think?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
But I do think that I had something special that is just me. And when I started developing these films that we were working on, and I had to hire a whole new crew and teach them how to paint backgrounds. And here I was just learning myself, but it was something that I really believe it's a little bit of each. Right. I taught them something, and they taught me something. Of course, there were just so much. To do one of those feature films is such a huge project.
Oh, absolutely.
It's 3 years.
What's so fascinating when you look back at the history of that studio is that it was prohibitively expensive sometimes to put some of those films together. People don't realize how much is involved.
I know. They had,
and
it
took a long time for them to sometimes break even.
Oh, for sure.
Look at Fantasia.
And they went bankrupt a couple of times just trying to make these films. And I still think when people, like you mentioned Fantasia, it's just so incredible that they could have figured out how to even make that.
Oh, it's the perfect marriage of image and music.
Yeah, I know.
It really is.
I know.
And then, of course, then they brought in the great Leopold Stokowski and the Philadelphia Orchestra, and they were going to do, I think, one short.
Right.
And Walt kind of realized, wait a second, we'll never recoup this money. It's great, but we'll never recoup that money. So they had to end up coming up with a feature-length film, like 8. It was like an incredible music video.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think I've heard your style sometimes referred to as a kind of romantic impressionism.
Well, that's what I
Is that
say.
how you describe it?
That's how I describe it, because it is impressionism and it is romantic, and much, like the other impressionists, it comes from the heart. It isn't, so it is a feeling, it's an emotion. It isn't just painting a painting, it's painting an emotion.
Right. Well, I find that description very apt, and I find it fascinating because when I walk around Monthaven and I look at your paintings and I look at the backgrounds, I think what your style does is it kind of lends that storybook quality to these incredible fairy tales that are really immortal fairy tales.
Yes.
And so I kind of have a sense that your style just really, if you weren't influencing them, you were definitely embellishing them and making those films much more spectacular than they would have otherwise been.
Yes.
So it's just really exciting to see it.
Well, this is what I love about doing this event is because people can see a wide range from just regular canvas oil paintings to actual Disney backgrounds and the Disney fine art things that I did later that are using the Disney characters in a regular painting to get my point across.
Right. We're speaking with famed artist and animator James Coleman, whose exhibit Bringing Disney to Life is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. We'll be back after this important message.
The Park West Foundation reminds us that the arts help build well-rounded communities. They foster creativity, inclusivity, and cultural understanding. They bring people together through shared experiences and support for local identity. Art programs promote education, economic growth, and emotional well-being. Interested in expanding your own creative horizons? Registration for the MACC's fall art classes is now open. Go to monthavenarts.org/classes for more information.
We're back with artist and animator James Coleman, whose exhibit Bringing Disney to Life is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. Well, one thing that I think a lot of people might be surprised about or might just not really know, and I don't think I knew it until I started really studying your work more closely, was just how important the background artist is. And we all think that it's just maybe one person or whatever, just sitting there drawing everything. Yes. But it really is a team effort, and there's a lot of specialty involved.
There is.
Tell me a little bit about that, about just what does the background artist lend to this process that you would otherwise not have?
Well, because backgrounds are the stage that the characters live in, and the color and
it's
the
setting of your
vibrance.
novel in a way, or of your fairy tale.
That's right.
Wow.
It is the visual that you would have in a novel when they go through, and I love books that have that ability to get you visually involved in a piece of artwork. In a book, and it's the same thing with film. The way films would start would be I would sit down with the story man and the producer and director, and we'd all have a long talk about how this whole film could look, whether it was really bright in color or whether subdued, and then I would go and start doing little color mock-ups, and we have a few of those here. at the museum here, the little mock-ups, impressionistic paintings that I did to kind of get the idea of what a certain film might look like.
Okay. Wow. Well, I think I see your films. I think, just any great storytelling, you'll have someone like a Charles Dickens will create this foggy, dirty Victorian London.
Yes.
First, that's his world. Then he'll stick his characters in there and he has all sorts of bad things happen to them so that we can see what they're made of. And the same thing's happening in your animations.
Well, right. And this is why, to me, backgrounds are so important to a film, because they give you a place, like you're saying. It can be mucky and dirty and scary and bright.
And that's the world you create.
And
characters have to be in a world in order for them to be believable.
That's right. And I know luckily I had was trained by some pretty amazing artists that had been doing it for their whole lifetime. I mean, I'm at the end of my stay now in, I remember thinking how these guys, it was hard to believe that they'd been painting for so many years, but then I would follow them on their fine art careers too.
Wow.
And they all had fine art careers. Ivan Earle, and Al Dempster and a few of the others.
That is so fascinating. Well, even some of the great golden age of Hollywood composers, like Bernard Herrmann, who was doing like the music for all the Hitchcock movies. Those guys were also like writing for orchestras. They're doing their own fine art. So it makes sense. And if you're going to be good enough to do a great Hollywood film, you're probably pretty good, right? So I guess it's the same thing with the visuals. Yeah. Well, I think your first feature length was Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2.
Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, yes.
What was the technique for creating those animations at that point, and how did that change over time? Because you were doing something, as I understand, more like what's known as like cell animation in the early stages, and then eventually you're getting more toward computer-generated images. How did it change?
Well, it was a huge change. The first, the first 11 films that I did didn't have any digital environment. It was all done on cells. It was animated. The animator would draw the line drawing of the characters, and they would Xerox that off onto a cell and then back paint the cell, and then put that over our backgrounds. And we would have up to 1,500 backgrounds on a film. And so, but the difference was when we came to Beauty and the Beast, they did one or two scenes that were done with a computer, and people were all asking me, did you do the ballroom scene, and how did you make it seem so 3D?
And that ballroom is so famous, that scene, it's so three-dimensional. I mean, you just feel like you're in that ballroom.
Right, and so it shocked me too, and I started saying, I need to look for a new way to describe my art and to get it out into the world so that's beyond films, that would be in galleries, obviously. And I started in a gallery up in Carmel, and that was just an amazing thing to change over. But after Beauty and the Beast, I knew where it was going, and it was. And so I took a couple of months off. I never retired from Disney, strangely enough. I just took time off to paint oil paints, and I did that. And that start paying off. And then I met an artist named Weiland, who was building 30 galleries. And he said, well, I'd like to have you in my galleries. And I said, well, sure, I'd love to be in your galleries. And I did. And that changed everything. And they called me in for Aladdin, but I looked at that and I said, you know, what would I rather do? Stay at home and paint landscapes and sell them in galleries and travel all over the country, or go get up every morning and go to Disney. I had an hour drive each way to the Disney studio. We were living out in the country. I didn't want to live in the city, so we lived in the country, and so it wasn't a real hard choice to make. And
I can kind of feel that was a nice transition sort of thing for you. I can kind of feel that emotion there, because I used to be a print newspaper reporter and writer and critic, and then of course a writer, and now we've got this thing called AI and Chat GPT, and I just feel like saying, hey, stop the planet, I'd like to get off. You know,
well,
and I kind of get the sense that, you know, you are feeling like that with the CGI. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, well, I can see what you're saying, because we're all talking about AI now in all different ways.
Right.
But man, that's a huge
I know. No,
change.
I actually used to be a critic in the late 90s for Gannett, and I was stationed for a little while in Rochester, New York, which was the home of Kodak. And I actually saw what the impact of this whole digital revolution was on Kodak. You know? And Kodak Kodak was one of the, was like gold stock.
Yeah.
It was like Disney. It was one of the big companies that were like the, you know, and then with the digital revolution, you know, chemical film just sort of went the way of the Edsel.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't that crazy?
So you end up with this different world. We're speaking with famed artist and animator James Coleman, whose exhibit Bringing Disney to Life is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. We'll be back after this important message.
The Park West Foundation is a strong supporter of arts education. The arts foster creativity, critical thinking, and emotional expression. They also enhance communication skills and cultural awareness while boosting confidence and collaboration. Students engaged in the arts often perform better academically and develop lifelong appreciation for diverse perspectives. This message was brought to you by the Park West Foundation, a champion of arts awareness and education since 2006. For more information, visit their website at parkwestfoundation.org.
We're back with artist and animator James Coleman, whose exhibit Bringing Disney to Life is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. Well, I like to talk to you about your fine art, but before I do, let me ask you, do you feel like during your career at Disney, was any of those films to you your crowning achievement?
Well, I still think The Fox and the Hound is one of my favorite films that I did.
Okay.
And Beauty and the Beast is very important too, but that was my last film, and it was, of course, a big blockbuster, and still
an Academy Award winner.
Academy Award winner, and plus they did a live action version.
Right.
Like Disney does. But yeah, that was a big change.
I feel like my own sense just historically is that Beauty and the Beast really was the film that finally really equaled Snow White from 1937. You know,
I think you're right.
This was, you know, when people saw that in 1937, they saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They had never seen anything like that before.
Yes.
It totally blew everyone away. It was this beautiful animation. And of course, what I love about Disney, and you see this in the films that you made, but also the older films, is that they really never shied away from the darkness in some of these fairy tales. You know,
No,
you had
in fact, we
had
went-
evil queens, and you had
I know.
and that's what made the stories
Yeah,
really
the
so
Horn
compelling.
King.
Yeah.
No,
So
yeah.
it was so amazing. But I think that Beauty and the Beast really, I mean, it was a cultural shift
Yes.
for, I mean, it's something that really everybody saw,
I agree.
everybody was talking about it. And it just like Snow White, it was like,
Yes.
okay, we're in a new age.
Absolutely. And because the digital thing had come along right at that time, it was just a no-brainer. It was going to, like you're talking about, AI is right now
Wow.
for writers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a new world.
Yeah,
It is a brave new world.
and that's a scary thing.
Well, let me ask you, you left Disney. Who are the artists who you believe, at least in the fine arts world, who are the ones who've maybe most influenced you, or who at least you like the most?
Well, all of the Impressionists, but Monet is one of my favorite, and Van Gogh and Gauguin, and basically that whole, and Thomas Kincaid was a very good friend of mine.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and he's painting in heaven right now,
Okay.
waiting for me to get there.
Okay.
Yeah. And because we're going to paint with colors like there's never has been, we never have seen on here on Earth. And I really do believe it's going to be a whole other plein air painting up there.
What you love landscapes? Tell me a little bit about your work today and your studio, and what is your process like? Where do you find your inspiration?
Well, you know what? I'm usually thinking 2 or 3 paintings ahead, and I'm just trying to. Sometimes I'll do sketches, but most times I'll have a concept and then just have a canvas made and sit down and just start painting.
Okay.
And then let that painting take me into that place.
So
It is-
you're
yeah,
painting by instinct
yeah.
then, right?
Right.
It's sort of as
Yeah.
you're going, it's sort of telling you where to go.
Right.
So you're discovering the painting as you're creating.
Well,
it.
that's true. Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. And so in a way, it's a little bit like improvisation with music.
Well, it is for sure. Yeah, yeah. It's like jazz.
I was wondering to what extent maybe, because I mean, even jazz players, they may plan out a few things, but they really
Well,
are.
sure,
But once they start,
Yeah.
they don't know where they're going. The
Right.
music just takes them there.
Well, that's right.
That is
And
so
this is the
fascinating.
thing. And you can ask Lori, my wife. She knows because she'll walk by and see me start a painting, and then come by a little while later, and it's just a whole new, different thing. And she'll just say, "Well, where did you come up with that idea?"
Wow. Well, I appreciate your giving us so much time. I'd like to ask you maybe one more question. What do you hope people take away from this show? What do you hope people
I hope that they're inspired by the color and by the artistic quality of what we have here, and that they are, but mostly they're just inspired. And this is what I think about when I see a film. You know, I go and see a Spielberg film. I want to be inspired because I know he's going to do that.
Right. Okay.
And hopefully people will put all of it together, and the fine art and the Disney and the animation art, and see it as one level of painting.
I feel that way about it. It's like
Yeah.
it is a beautifully visual soundtrack to me. It is
Yes.
absolutely gorgeous. I love the show. James Coleman, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having us, and please come out and see this show. I want people to see what a lifetime can do if you practice.
Isn't that true? Okay. Thank you, sir.
You've been listening to MACC Talk from Mott Haven Arts and Cultural Center. Our mission is to educate, elevate, and encourage our community through the transformative power of the arts. If you are interested in transforming your creative life, check out our website at motthavenarts.org. Our guest today was the artist and animator James Coleman. His exhibit, Bringing Disney to Life, is on display at the MACC through January 11th, 2026. Our podcast music was written by Nashville composer Christina Spinay. I'm Kennedy Galpin. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.